So in our next lesson, what we're going to learn how to do is actually sketch out the controller frame using projected curves. And we're going to do this with two separate sketches, one on the top plane and one on the front plane. So let's do our first sketch on the top plane. We're going to draw some arcs here and here. We're going to make sure that these are tangent to these horizontal lines. Because we're only drawing half of the controller right now, we want to make sure that when we mirror this, all the lines are nice and smooth and there's no edges. So let's draw one more arc here. And we're going to make these horizontal. And I also want to define a dimension here as 1 inch. And this will help control the sketches as we create them. So you can start to see that we're having the controller's body pretty much fleshed out at this point. You can see the shape that it's going to be making. So we're going to add an arc here. Make sure that all these are tangent. And we're going to add one more in this corner. Like so. So you can see SOLIDWORKS doesn't exactly like when sketches are tangent in this way. That's why I was mentioning to actually run some dimensions in here as quickly as possible to prevent things like that from happening. But once everything is figured out, everything is tangent, what we can do is actually start to snap these arcs to these lines to define our overall shape and have this box control how these curves actually look. So the first thing I think we should do is make these tangent down here. You can see this is coming out of the bounding box, so let's make this tangent to this line. And I think we should be able to make these vertical. So that's pretty good so far. All right, so now that we have our first sketch, defining the shape of the controller, our next sketch is actually going to show what this will look like from the side, and it's really just going to be a single arc. And once we combine them, you'll see that this shape actually curves in two directions. So let's open up a sketch, the right plane. We're going to start from this point. Make sure that this is tangent here. We can make this point vertical. So if it doesn't like, you can see that there's no pierce point. So if it doesn't like you snapping a point to a curve, what you can do is use this bounding box to your advantage. And I can actually just make these vertical. And it works perfectly. Now this sketch will not go beyond this box. What I could also do is make this point horizontal here. So now I have a defined shape that's controlled entirely by our initial sketches. So now we have everything we need to do our projected curves. So let's go into the Features tab, select the Curves button, and we're going to choose Project Curve here. Make sure that this is sketch on sketch, and it's actually going to figure out on its own how to make these sketches work together. So it really doesn't matter which one you click on first, but I just like to click on this one because this is going to be our main sketch, and this one is defining the curve of the sketch. So you can see it gives you a little preview there. And what that does is it actually is going to give us a compound curve to work with. You'll see it'll turn blue. So that's it. Now that we have this to work from, we're going to use this as a frame to start building our surfaces for the lower half of the controller in our next lesson.